Good day, everyone, and welcome to Geo, Open Data and Other Open.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being in the room so early for the opening of the second edition of Open Data and Open Knowledge workshop. We are here to continue and discuss and advance the discussion, identify actions on how open Earth observation data and open Earth observation knowledge are the foundational ingredients for GeoPost 2025 strategy. We believe that enhancing discoverability, accessibility, and reusability of data and knowledge, we can accelerate the impact of our world's socio-environmental challenges. Our deep thanks go to our Chinese colleagues and hosts for inviting us. Last year, at the closure of ODOC 23 in Geneva, we've been invited to continue the discussion in China, and here we are. We have announced what we would do, and we are here to do what we said. So this is foundation of quality, and we are truly excited to open Data, Open Knowledge Workshop 2024 here in Hangzhou. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the moderator for the opening session and for the next session, Advancing Open Knowledge, Marie-Françoise Boidreau, Director of OGC, Collaborative Solution and Innovations in Europe, as well as PB member and Geo Infrastructure Chair for EuroGeo and Chair of the Data Knowledge Working Group. Marie-Françoise, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Paola. So this session marks the opening of the Open Data and Open Knowledge Workshop 2024, and it will set the stage for the discussion and insights that we will have to grow during the event. So just some high-level view on the program. We will start with the what we want to do and why we want to do that and what we are doing. And then this will be the opening, and then we will be the how. On the first day, the how will be about what has already been done, and then you will be able to onboard where we are. At the end of the first day, you will know perfectly where we are. On the second day, it's more the how on where we want to go. Progressively, we will engage more and more with the audience, and we really need to get your inputs because we have created our work on the outputs of ODOC 2023, and we want to push the work afterwards on the outputs of this event. So I will first introduce, we will open really the event with Dr. Pengdi Li, who is director from the United Nations Global Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation Center. They have started a pioneer work in this direction, and we want to learn from you, Pengdi. Thank you. You can.
Thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm working in the small town very close to this place in Deqing. There we have the UN Center for Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation. I worked with Geo for many years. Even we have meetings with colleagues in Geneva, in other parts of the world, because I always say Geo is the technology to monitor the Earth. Geospatial knowledge is how to use the technology. So they are one big family. That's why today I wish to make an introduction of what we are doing in the UN Geospatial Knowledge Center. From this diagram, you will see there are two timelines on the top. That's about the UN. The United Nations surveying, mapping, and geo-information has been in very high priority since the establishment of UN in 1945. In 1948, the Secretary General calling the expert to assist all the countries to increase the capacity of survey mapping and geo information. So until 1954, there is the first UN mapping conference held in India. So after that, UN has continually working meetings in Asia Pacific, Africa, and Latin America. Because these three areas are the developing part of the world. They need new maps to assist planning and others. Until in year 2011, because the technology changed, so the traditional survey mapping conference changed into the new name, Global Geospatial Information Management, UNGGIM. So after that, after these years, there's some new things happen. In year 2018, the first World Geospatial Conference or Congress held in Deqing. So after that, the world get recognized geospatial information is important to every sector of economy and social management, even environmental protections. So in year 2022, this center called the Global Geospatial Knowledge and Innovation Center was formally established. I moved to Deqing last October, so nearly 1 year. That's the functional operationalization of the new center of UN. So that's the direction. And based on that, there are other two centers. One is in Bonn, in Germany, for geodesy. Another one is going to launch very soon in Saudi Arabia for geospatial ecosystem. So on the bottom, you will see the geo development from year 2002, from the Earth Summit until now. So that's the third 10 years for geo to develop. For GGM, it's also 15 years to go on. That's why two are going the same way. That's why I always say geo and the GGM, they are two faces of a paper. We work together to move the world to benefit from technology, data, and knowledge. So that's the GGM situation. It has 4 networks: social network, academic network, private network, and the UN system network. Normally, every year, the plenary meeting of UNGGM will have GEO as observer because that's 2 different organizations. In 5 regions, we also have regional committee is cope with the UN branch in Asia Pacific, in Thailand, and Africa, in Addis Ababa, and also others. So this center, for the center in Deqing, what we are going to do, we have 5 strategic goals. The first one, developing leadership and collaborations worldwide. So also we are willing to cooperate with GEO, the family, how to use technology and data. The second one is addressing national priorities, accelerating the goals. We will help all the countries, developed and developing, to use geospatial information, knowledge, and to increase the capacity. The third one will fostering geospatial knowledge method. Geoinformation, how can be used in smart farming, in smart cities, in smart transportation. So we need new applications to show the important and the valuable contribution of geoinformation. The number 4 is enabling innovation technology. That's what we are most interested with the innovations. The last one is enhancing communication and awareness. Geospatial information is related to everyone, every sector of the social economics. That's why we need to make more people to understand the technology, the data, the knowledge. So that's the two centers else. They are in Bonn and Saudi Arabia. That will be, in Saudi Arabia, the center will be launched in February. This one we know very well about the SDG 2030. Just this week, the meeting has been completed about the Summit of the Future. There are very important conclusions have been released for the Pact of the Future and the Digital Compact, and also a declaration for the youth. This is the new calling for our geospatial world to focus, to make contributions. Another one important I want to say about the UN 2.0, that's the new version, because it is focusing on data, digital transformation, innovations, behavioral science, and foresight. These 5 sectors we should consider for UN and also for every country. Another important thing is UN IGF. That's the indicator for every country to increase the capability for governance, data, and for partnerships. This is the kernel part for geospatial information for every country. I think the geo is also part coupled with these 9 pathways. We need Earth observation. We need a communication network. Also, we need the data hubs to make the information technology available to everyone. That's the SDG data hub. It have some pilot project. And geospatial capacity development, we need to make the people, the world know where, when, what, who, and how. That's what geo information should do. And also how we can cooperate. Like geo on the left, there are many international organizations. On the right, also different type of money resources. So we should work together to increase the capacity in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. So there are some key issues. Geospatial information needs to be shared. It's based on data, and it also needs platforms. So with the AI technology, the platforms, geospatial data can be transferred into knowledge. Knowledge can be easy to use. That's why the very important thing is knowledge is power. How to use knowledge is more important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pengdi, for opening and showing us the way. And we can see that we have to work together. We are already in the landscape, and we will keep on this collaboration, strengthening the collaboration. I will call my dear colleague from GIDTT working group, Yuki Bai, who works with the University of Tsinghua and from the Chinese Academy of Science. And I would just like to inform our speakers that we have very friendly timekeepers that will show you the minutes in case you are delayed, but I know you are all very experienced and this would not be any problem. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for Professor Pengdi sharing the UN's perspectives and the visions. And over the next 10 minutes, I would like to walk you through the value of open data and open knowledge for societal progresses, particularly in the context of big data and also big Earth data. So firstly, we will briefly introduce the concept and the components of big data and the big Earth data, followed by our overview of challenges we are facing right now in the field of observation. Next, we will highlight the strong need for open data, open knowledge, and open science, and discuss the significant progresses in this field, which will lead into the conclusion. So we are actually living in an era of big data, of unprecedented data generation. Every minute, immense volumes of data are collected globally. To give you a sense of scale, it is estimated that by 2025, the total global data sphere will reach 175 zettabytes. Regarding the key features of big data, we know volume, velocity, variety, and value. And there are another key features of big data. It would be the regional imbalance. And this is largely due to the differences in national and also regional capabilities. One of the most critical applications of big data is in the field of earth science. Big Earth data includes global Earth observations, simulations, projections, predictions, geographic analysis models, tools and packages, and also web services, reports and literatures. Big Earth data allows us to monitor and predict the Earth's environmental changes, and which enable natural resource management and also mitigate effects of climate change. By compiling, comparing, and also integrating legacy satellite databases, GeoSatDB provides vital information on global civil Earth observation satellites and also instruments. So far, we have more than 2,400 satellites, more than 100,000 instruments, more than 2,300 wavebands, and also 24 orbit types out there. So according to the statistics from this database, the number of the satellite observation has been deployed into orbit has been rising sharply during the last 10 years. This increase, is primarily due to the greater emphasis on spatial development by various governments, and also the growing involvement of our commercial partners as well. Over the last almost 20 years, we have been working on several versions of GLs. So the previous version of GLs has made 42 million data records available for geo users. While this capability may not seem that strong, but it's actually a cornerstone, very concrete step towards making global Earth observation data discoverable and also accessible. Publications are also an important source of EO knowledge. And we can see from these numbers and the figures, the growing number of publications and also the variety of subjects covered are very impressive. The value of Big Earth data is clear. With unique capability to understand the past and forecast the future state of the Earth, Big Earth data plays a very crucial role in facilitating the development of economies, societies, society cultures, and even policies. Despite a very promising feature enabled by Earth data and Big Earth data, we are facing great challenges right now. First and foremost would be the triple crisis: climate change, biodiversity loss, water stresses. These, along with many other global scale issues, affect all of us. No country can escape them. The second change would be a strong need to further transform data and also knowledge into informed decisions. This process involves the reception, generation, and sharing the data, as well as the production, storage, and also sharing knowledge as well. It is also linked to the indicator systems and frameworks that support the fulfillment of decision-making objectives. The digital divide between developing countries and also developed ones remains a crucial issue. In many developing countries, economic, educational, and many other deficiencies makes it very hard, makes it very difficult to develop their own expertise in Earth observation field. For example, it will be very hard for them to foster and to gain, to develop their own satellite remote sensing systems. Finally, we really need a very comprehensive Earth observation value chain where data providers and users could complement one another, and where developing countries and the developed ones could connect and collaborate. So to address these challenges, we really need to embrace the concepts of open data, open knowledge, and open science. Open data is actually a very powerful tool for democratizing information and enabling global collaboration. It is highly significant in improving efficiency, in driving economic development, and also fostering global and societal progress. By further expanding access to knowledge, infrastructure, and science, we empower researchers, policymakers, and innovators worldwide to contribute to societal progress. Quality and integrity, collective benefit, equity and fairness, diversity and inclusiveness, the core values and also principles of open data, open science, open knowledge are truly remarkable. Along these lines, we have seen very good progresses in recent years. There has been an increase in the development and use of open source tools and packages. They're ranging from managing remotely sensed imageries, geographic information data, to the representing and organization, even down to the high performance computing and even large language models. Open knowledge sharing platforms ensure the insights derived from the data are accessible and can be built upon by anyone, accelerating scientific advancements. What is showing here is contribution from GEO Secretary and also the GEO work programs, and also some other solutions provided by universities and also partners. In terms of open cyber infrastructures, we are witnessing paradigm shifts in how data is derived and organized and shared, and how individual data systems are interconnected. For the very first one, I would say archiving data and disseminating data have been very long histories, while the second one would be provide online access where no one have to download data, while the third one is merging. How about communicating, further aggregating, integrating multiple individual data systems to be a logical one, which is a basic and a fundamental concepts when we're working on the next generation of the GEO's infrastructure. And also we have seen very extensive regional and global cooperation in GEO, and which empowers us and could acting to tackle the global challenges as well. So in conclusion, open data and open knowledge are very essential. I would like to say, without data and knowledge, it is impossible to gain intelligence. As the demand for transitioning from data to information, to knowledge, and also intelligence grows, it becomes even more crucial to ensure global engagement and also collaboration. With that, I would like to thank you for attention. And by further enabling the new data infrastructures, I hope this presentation so far covered what we have done so far. And I hope the value of open data and open society, open value for the societal development would be very interesting. I look forward to further collaboration and discussion with you during the next several days. Thank you very much.
Very much, Yuki, to have set the science of why it is so important to share globally this open data and open knowledge. I will invite next Dr. Megishe Stab-Aile, just previous director from the World Food Programme.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. And I also see some colleagues from the African continent, so we are here together. And I will be talking a bit about the strategies for African continent. First, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the GEO Secretariat for inviting me here, and also the Chinese government for having us all here. I would like to speak on at this very important conference where we talk about data and data sharing. Today, I want to highlight Africa's unique position in this conversation. Throughout my career, from my work at the World Food Programme to my current role as a CEO of a small company that I have established, I have seen the transformative power of data and technology. I have the privilege of engaging with many governments, international organizations, private sector leaders, and local communities to address the food insecurity, environmental challenges, and rural development. It is clear to tackle all these challenges, it is important that we have a robust scientific cooperation and effective data sharing. We must also harness the potential of the private sector, particularly through partnerships between African companies and their global counterparts. The private sector plays a key role in innovation, financing, and scaling up solutions, and its participation is essential for Africa's transformation. Africa is at a pivotal point. The continent has extraordinary natural resources, a growing youth population, and significant potential for growth in agriculture, energy, and technology, and others. Yet, challenges like climate change, food insecurity, infrastructure deficits continue to hinder progress. However, these challenges also present opportunities. In my time with the WFP, particularly as a regional director in Southern Africa, I focused on leveraging advanced technologies to transform food systems and empower rural communities. One lesson learned is that reliable data is key to making informed decisions. Without cooperation, this data remains fragmented and underutilized. At WFP, we developed a geospatial platform in Egypt that enabled interministerial collaboration that transformed how various ministries implement, monitor, and evaluate their priorities. It focused cooperation between ministries and facilitated effective territorial planning. This platform was later replicated in Lesotho, where it empowers the national government and communities through evidence-based decision-making, resulting in actionable insights into food security and climate resilience. We are now calling for its scale up across African countries to support national governments as they work together to better manage national planning, coordination of resources, utilization, and drive sustainable development. This experience have reinforced my belief that geospatial technologies and data sharing are critical in addressing food insecurity, climate adaptation, and rural development. Unlocking Africa's potential requires stronger scientific cooperation, both within the continent and globally. This means closing the gap between knowledge creators and users and so forth. Now, first, it is important to have collaboration between African countries among themselves. South-South cooperation, which I have championed through initiatives like the Luxor Coordination Center for Knowledge Sharing and Innovation, allows African nations to share best practices and technologies in ways that resonate with their local context. But we must go further. building partnerships that transcend national borders. Academia, private companies, and civil society must co-create solutions with governments to develop localized strategies for climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, and food security. In this regard, the African Union Development Agency, AUDA-NEPAD, should play a central role in coordinating efforts, ensuring that governments, the private sector, and regional bodies are aligned in their strategies to harness data and technology for sustainable development. Second, investing in capacity building is essential. Africa's greatest asset is its human capital. But to unlock its full potential, we need to build the technical capacity of young scientists, innovators, and policymakers. This is where open data and technology become critical. At GEOSAS, the small company that I lead, we are committed to knowledge transfer, pairing senior experts with young professionals to foster mentorship and skill development. Our goal is to build Africa's geospatial capacity, equipping the next generation with the tools to address the continent's most pressing challenges. For example, from our work in Lesotho, we hired a young entrepreneurial company to expand their capabilities and provide on-site geospatial capacity building and support the government. In my 25 years at the United Nations, I have witnessed how technology has evolved, particularly the geospatial data, digital platforms, and communication tools. Access to the internet, mobile connectivity, and satellite data has revolutionized how we collaborate globally and empower local communities. We are now at a point where we need to harness these technologies more effectively to drive change and sustainability across Africa. Geospatial technologies, satellite imagery, digital communication, and internet access are crucial enablers that allow us to respond to climate change, food security, and rural development challenges more effectively. Data, when shared openly and responsibly, can be transformative. In agriculture, for example, satellite weather forecasting and optical imagery help smallholder farmers to optimize yields and predicting weather patterns and guiding their resource use. Through my work, I have seen how data-driven insights empower farmers to adapt to changing climates, fostering more resilient food systems. But sharing data alone is not enough. We must ensure that data is accessible, reliable, and actionable. This requires robust data governance framework and robust data while making it available for innovation. In conclusion, the future of Africa depends on our ability to cooperate scientifically and share knowledge openly. Through partnerships, capacity building, and the use of advanced technologies, we can create a future where data drives decision-making and solutions are tailored to the needs of our people. I am excited by the potential platforms like ODOC24 provide, allowing us to exchange ideas, share experience, and build a more data-driven, resilient Africa. I firmly believe that together we can ensure that Africa not only survives, but thrives in the face of today's challenges. Thank you.
Very much,
谢谢 Marie-Françoise。我的名字是毕珍，来到这里，我非常高兴。 So I will start to tell the story about our long way of open data and open knowledge. Some very important milestones. I will introduce you and show you the data sharing principles and the management principles. We will go through the open knowledge statement, talk a bit about the processes, and relate what GEO does to other management principles and the road ahead of us. But to start this, we have two stories from two former directors of the GEO Secretariat, Barbara Ryan and Gilberto Camaro. So we will start with those two. Can you please show Barbara's message to us?
At the GEO Open Data and Open Knowledge Workshop. I really appreciate it. And thanks to Paula and Bente and all the other organizers. And thank you also to the Chinese hosts and all the participants. This is such an important topic for which I still have a lot of energy for. And so I really hope each and every one of you will continue to push this topic throughout your respective organizations. I'm particularly happy to be here because, GEO's going on, well, before too long, will be in its 20th year when you really think about going back to the first informal group and then the establishment or so in around 2005, maybe a little bit later. It's really remarkable. It's still one of the best intergovernmental international organizations out there. And, while directors, all four of the directors, Jose and then me, Gilberto, and now Jana, while we each may have had different priorities, I would say every single one of us really had GEO's core principles and values front and center. And so we'll talk about my passion, which was broad open data sharing. And again, GEO has provided such an important vehicle for that concept globally. I'll talk today just a little bit about my Landsat experience. And while it was all US experience, there were international ramifications. And that really goes back to all of you really arguing within your respective organizations that all data that you generate in, on, or around the Earth, if it was collected at taxpayer expense, it should be broadly and openly available. We need that data and that information if you're going to tackle any of the sustainable development goals, any of the challenges that are facing the Earth right now, not the least of which is climate change, because we all know it's an integrated system. So while I'll talk about satellite data, it's not just satellite data, it's weather data, it's hydrologic data, it's data about the landscape change, it's urban data. Any data collected at taxpayer expense ought to be broadly and openly available. And only then will researchers, scientists, policymakers, you around the world really be able to show what an integrated system of systems we have that we call Earth. Let's go back to Landsat real quick. The first satellite was launched in 1972. It's always been a partnership between NASA and the US Geological Survey. NASA would build and launch the satellites. The USGS early on was responsible for data distribution and archiving. Later on, US Geological Survey took over the flight operations, but NASA still has always built and launched the satellites. And I have to say, right from the get-go, right from 1972, people were arguing for a broad open data policy. Now, if you look back, and maybe rightly so, money was used as an excuse. It took a lot of money to build and launch the satellite. It also took a lot of money to download the data, store the data, and then distribute the data. But as soon as the internet came along and you were able to distribute, whether it's scene by scene or now pixel by pixel out across the internet, it became increasingly difficult to make a logical argument for the incremental cost of distributing a scene of data. And so the policies in the United States would never allow you to build into the cost of the cost of selling the data, your systems. You only could charge the cost to get that data out the door. And that's why the internet provided a really useful forcing function, because there was essentially, once you had the systems in place, there was essentially no or only an incremental cost after you got that first scene out the door to do any other number of scenes. I know it's a hard argument to make. At the time, the US Geological Survey, we were collecting about $5 million a year from selling Landsat data. But we knew deep down that that was a limiting factor for the uptake of the data. So again, while people way back to 1972 were arguing for broad open data policies, it wasn't until about 2000 I was part of the equation. I was the associate director for geography, but there were so many more people that were helping push this issue. There were detractors, don't let me fool you, but there were also a lot of people pushing this issue. And what we argued to the administration and then the White House and then Congress was that if we could release the data broadly and openly, that there would be an increased economic impact in the United States because there would be a lot more uptake of data. Now, while the economic analysis wasn't done until after I had left the organization, I think the first one was done in 2011, maybe the next one was done in 2017 or 2018, I'm not quite sure about the numbers, but each one proved what we speculated or supposed back in 2000, 2003, 2004, 2005. I mean, we worked this issue quite a bit. We were lucky enough to have a Secretary of Interior, Dirk Kempthorne, first a director of the Geological Survey, Mark Myers, who understood the importance, and then was able to argue to the Secretary of Interior that this was really an important issue. And so the policy was changed in 2007. So again, I only fought the issue for 7 years. There were people, I want to be clear about this, there were people that have been fighting this issue back to 1972. So for any of you in your respective organizations that are getting discouraged about how long it takes a long time to make this change. The importance for GEO is that the US Geological Survey was part of the US delegation to the Group on Earth Observations. There was, the plenary was coming up in 2007 in Cape Town, South Africa, and we managed to convince the Secretary of Interior to make the announcement for the Landsat data policy change at that meeting down in Cape Town. Now that was a challenge in and of itself because one, he'd have to travel all the way to Cape Town. Who knows if people are going to stand up and cheer for that announcement? Of course they did, and we said they would. So that was great. So we really thank the GEO community for coming through on that particular issue. But then things changed rapidly. We went almost overnight from downloading 53 scenes a day when we sold that data, sold 53 scenes a day, to a download of 2 orders of magnitude more. So the usage jumped from those 53 scenes a day to something like 5,300 or 5,400 scenes a day. I think it's even higher now. The economic analysis, the first economic analysis showed an economic return to the United States of, I think, close to $800 million. And even internationally, there was an economic benefit of 350 or $400 million, which created a $2.1 billion economic return just for this one change in data policy. Now that far exceeded the $5 million that we were taking in for the sales of that Landsat data. But think about the economic benefit. I understand I was already in GEO by the time the second economic analysis was done. And I think the numbers are higher. In fact, I'm sure they're higher than $2.4 billion a year or $2.1 billion a year. They may even be close to $3 billion a year. Now, you guys, that's one series of multiple satellites, but it was the Landsat series. Geo was instrumental in one, telling that story more. First, it was good the US went to the geoplenary to make that announcement, but then Geo picked it up. And I firmly believe that that pushed, helped encourage anyway, Europe on their Sentinel data policy to adopt a broad open data policy. And other countries around the world are moving in that direction. Do we have farther to go? We most certainly do. And so I guess all I would implore is that all of you first tackle the issue within your respective organizations, use GEO as a vehicle to get broader attention, and do not underestimate the role of political support. While we career scientists in the Geological Survey, and many, like I said, were fighting this issue back to 1972, it wasn't until we were able to put together, one, I think a coherent argument, but two, get a political appointee, whether it was the director of the Geological Survey at the time, whether it was the Secretary of Interior at the time, to actually put some political capital into this issue. It worked out really well, and we need to be leveraging that story globally. But again, Landsat is just the tip of the iceberg. More satellites need to be broadly and openly available for their data streams, more atmospheric stations, more hydrologic stations, more geologic stations. GEO is talking about all the systems of the Earth and all the observations, whether they're to the core of the Earth, around on the surface of the Earth, or above the Earth. We've got to be thinking holistically about broad open data policies for the entire Earth system. So I think I probably have taken more than 5 minutes, so I really apologize for that. But listen, good luck over the next couple of days. I miss all you guys. It was such a wonderful time and privilege, really, being director of the group on Earth observations. Keep up the good work, you guys. Thank you so much for what you do. Bye-bye.
Good day, everyone.
Okay. Gilberto is in the pipeline here. We definitely saw Barbara telling it's a long story, a long road that we are, a long way we are on. But Gilberto, he has also an interesting story to tell us.
And welcome to GEO Open Data and Other Open Knowledge Workshop. It is my immense pleasure to be invited to give you an introductory speech, the workshop of 2024. And my great thanks to the GEO Secretariat and to the Chinese organizers for inviting me to address you. And the Open Data, Open Knowledge Workshop is very much important in the age we live, which is the age of big Earth observation data. We have now reaping the benefits that led to the establishment of GEO back in the 90s. And we are now having an unprecedented amount of open data available. If we look back in time, we see that Brazil was the first to make its Landsat data available in 2006, then the US making Landsat available for everyone in 2008, and then later the important decision of the European Commission on the Copernicus program, which led to unprecedented, enormous amount of very valuable data sets being available. And I thank specifically to the European Commission because the Copernicus program is a major of importance in Earth observation data. And this age of big Earth observation is also backed by initiatives in stepping up cloud services. And these cloud services include both private solutions that, of course, deliver open data, such as Google Earth Engine, Microsoft Planetary Computer, Amazon, and also solutions which are communitary and important, such as the Digital Earth Africa, the Brazil Data Cube, the Swiss Data Cube, and more recently, the important example of the European Commission setting up the Copernicus data space ecosystem. All of these initiatives in cloud services are well served by the community because the community helped develop an important technology, which is STEP, which allows a software to access these data sets seamlessly. And this has been a major initiative by the community. And of course, this leads to now a big challenge to all of us, which is also an opportunity. The challenge is because the big data analytics has to be tackled with new techniques. We are used to visual interpreting or even classifying a single image. Now we have satellite image time series. We have lots and lots of data. And there is no other way to tackle these data sets than to work with machine learning methods. And this provides an immense opportunity for using the data, but also a challenge, a steep learning curve. I have experience in working with colleagues in Brazil, and also Switzerland, and Chile, Colombia, Peru, and I can tell you, it's not an easy learning curve. Most remote sensing experts are accustomed to a paradigm of having one image and working with one image. And when you work with different algorithms, lots of data sets, your challenge leads to a challenge of learning. And to tackle this challenge of learning, we need to share. We need to share, of course, first open source solutions that would empower the community. Open source solutions such as the Open Data Cube, Bangeo, and a package which I'm leading the development called SITS, Satellite Image Time Series. But I'm happy to report that currently the state of the art of open source software for big data analytics is much improved and much better than what is available in commercial solutions. This is a very important achievement by the open source community. And of course, that can only lead to further improvements as we cooperate with each other. And of course, the other important effort which should not fail to mention is OpenGeo by the European Commission. So now the challenge, of course, is that, okay, there is good software, there is open data, but without sharing case studies, without sharing examples, without documenting those examples, without showing how these achievements and how these results are reproducible, we will not reach the community. So that's why it's so important to build this effort of the Geo Knowledge Hub. Our personal experience is that we have developed an online book, which is a self-learning book associated with the SITS package. It took us a lot of work, but it's extremely well received by the community. People like the fact that they have the tools to learn. But these will not be complete if we do not have a major sharing by everyone involved. With your cases, share your examples, share your training data, show how you did it, and be sure that others are eager to learn from it. But that is the reason why it's all the more important, the effort that has been led by the Geosecretariat. So my recognition to the work being carried out by Jana, and also by the great effort by Paola Di Salvo on the open knowledge and Geo Knowledge Hub, because these are essential for the community. Now, looking back, in the old times of Geo, when it all started, we see that we have achieved a lot. It may seem not much if we look with, let's say, immediate eyes, but the long view is that we've managed to build a community, we've managed to reach and motivate countries and the Commission to open up their data sets. We've motivated developers to come up with open source software. We've motivated experts to come up with open case studies and sharing the results. And this is the only possible way forward in the world, which is enormously challenged by the immense problems of reducing the inequality that exists in the world, and yet at the same time resisting and mitigating the immense perils of climate change. More than ever, the world is in crisis, and more than ever, we need to come together. So this effort by GEO is it's fundamental in the sense of pushing and putting the direction where we need. Without sharing, without reproducing, we will not even be able to understand what we're facing. My congratulations to the Chinese team who has set up this workshop. I have a deep respect for China, having been in China for many, many years, interacting with the Chinese space sector. My congratulations to the GEO Secretariat, to Jana, to Paola, and to all the members there for the effort. And I wish you an extremely productive GEO ODOK workshop. Thank you so much.
Yes. So that was very powerful stories about the history done by the former directors of the GEO Secretariat, Barbara Ryan and Gilberto Camara. They told different parts. I want to then ask you to brace yourself, because now we will go through the history, the long road together in a very fast pace to give a context to those two stories. So there's definitely a long road. It's not a long way, not as long as the Milky Way, as you see here, but all the same. It started in 2003, I would say, with the Earth Observation Summits. It was already mentioned by Penghi here. That was what we call the ad hoc GEO period. It resulted, as we know, in the establishment of the GEO, the group on Earth observation, and it was based on two very important documents, the reference document and the 10-year implementation plan of GEOS, the Global Earth Observing System of Systems. On the top here in text, you see the first version that was valid from the get-go of the open data sharing principles. They are very much similar, but I will come back to the difference later, to what we have today. Then in 2015, we not only reaffirmed the open data sharing principles, we enhanced it. It's now open by default. That's an important point. And we also established the GEO data management principles. We were the first to do that, but that was based on a long series of work by the community, and is part of the second strategy for GEO, the plan for 2016 to 25, implementing GEOS. Now, in 2021, we established the GEO Knowledge Hub, and we also agreed on the GEO Open Knowledge Statement. I will come back to those. We will go to more detail to that. And now today, in 2013, we agreed on the GEO Post 2025 strategy, Earth Intelligence for All, where we are now about to implement. So the data sharing principles, I want to show it to you. This is how they look. I will not go in detail, but notice, as I said, the data sharing is now open by default, and we are highlighting also the importance of metadata. We have inherent in our open data sharing principles also the possibility to restrict, but not more than necessary. There might be reasons for it, and that this is actually an important point when we are developing Earth intelligence. We want to keep on being open, but there are reasons sometimes, and that could be a stumbling stone for actually making Earth intelligence. We have it inherent in our data sharing principles. And so minimal restrictions, both in terms of cost and time delay. So our famous data management principles, we have 10 of them. I will go very quickly through them, but I do want to show it to them because this is really one of the important foundations of GEO. So the first one is discoverability. And I want you to notice here that both metadata should be, of course, it's instrumental that the metadata is there in order for us to discover them. but also including licenses. And this is something we work on in the data knowledge, data sharing and data knowledge, the geo data and knowledge working group. So accessibility, again, we want it to be accessible via the internet, so machine by machine. And we also already said that it should be user friendly. Then there's 4 principles relating to usability. The first is encoding. The second is documentation, and it's metadata, metadata, metadata. This is super important. And then we have provenance. We need full traceability. We need to know where the data came from along the value chain of data. And we also need to know the quality, so quality control. So knowing the quality and whether or not it has been quality checked is part of our management principles. Then after the data is collected, we also want to take care of it. So we have a couple of principles for preservation and verification of the data to make sure that it is authentic and readable. And we curate. So it needs to be, as I said, the data needs to be taken care of. We need to curate it. And this is also described in one of our principles. And we also need to be able to identify them and, among others, give credit and acknowledgement to those who provided the data. So that is a very quick fix on the data management principles. Then we, as I said, we approved the open knowledge statement. You will recognize that both open access and open data is included in that open knowledge statement. I believe it's Yuchi, you mentioned also open science particularly, that's a part of it, but Geo is more than science. We also have operational services, so it's wider, that's why we call it knowledge. And you can see here that we include citizen and participatory science, open reproducible research, open software, hardware, infrastructure, education, evaluation, and also diversity of knowledge. We have the Indigenous Alliance here that we will hear from later to underline the importance of this. Now, how did we arrive at that? And I ask you to brace yourself now. I will explain this. So you have the timeline in the middle here. I have highlighted on the top, you will see circles. That's the ministerials, again, already shown by Pengmi. And you see on the top, you see decisions that we as governmental organizations and participatory organizations have agreed on. And at the bottom, you see working groups of the community work and the activities. So notice that in 2014, we actually had the first sat down a committee, a task force, to work on developing the data management principles that was approved in 15, along with the enhanced open data sharing principles. In 2010, by the way, the first portal based on the first version of the GEOS, the Global Earth Observing System of Systems, was launched. Then when Gilberto came along, the community also established an expert advisory group that later led to the open knowledge statement and the establishment of the Geo Knowledge Hub. Meanwhile, in Canberra, we established the Geo Indigenous Alliance. We also, by the way, identified, or we decided to have a new category of members, the associated members. So NGOs and businesses were, a formal category in Geo. So we also, in 2020, we established the Geo EDI, so Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion. And you will understand later why I highlight these events. You see here the dialogue series, the Geo Dialogue series, where we are educating the community about the data sharing and the data management principles based on, with the help of the communities in the Geo Work Program. You see the ODOCs here, and I already mentioned the Geo Data Working Group that now is called Data and Knowledge Working Group. And in Cape Town, we also had the first GEO use statement. So GEO is not alone. We have in having data management principles, and I see that the FAIR principles for some reason has been missing from this slide. In parallel with us, well, you see in 2015, we established the data management principles. In 2016, we saw the FAIR principles. And in 18, the CARE principles led by the indigenous community developed these CARE principles. And then we have the trust principles that was done by the Research Data Alliance. So all of these principles we have looked at the data working group and did a crosswalk, and we see that there's a great deal of complementarity between this data management principles. Oh, I was going a little bit fast. So the road ahead of us. So what you see, we need to, in the data working group and in GEO, we will, in order for us to achieve and implement the Earth intelligence for all, we need to follow the times and the development of time. Nothing is static, as you know. And so we will, of course, revisit the data sharing principles, the data management principles, and we will include then the perspectives, and we are lucky to have this in our body already, the GEO Indigenous Alliance, the youth, and the EDI. We will also collaborate further with the other principles, as I mentioned, the FAIR, CARE, and trust, and so that will be further developed. Now, we will also develop new GEO knowledge principles. So do the same rehearsal, the exercise we did with the data sharing statement principle to make the data management principles. And so with that, I will say, 保持感透更进一步。We have, for the non-Chinese, we have come a long way, but there's still work to be done. Anne-Marie-Françoise, to be crazy, we were asked to be crazy. Can we do a selfie? All of us? Are you having a closing word?
Yes, I will have some closing words. I think you all share with me this feeling that we are blessed to have such high-level leaders explaining us what we have to do.